Your oceanic plate in, and you snap it in half. You throw another one in, and you shake Washington all about. Here's a wild statement for our next video of the Olympic Wallowa lineament or Klamath Blue Mountain lineament series. The entirety of the Pacific Northwest is moving around a fixed location in Oregon in a clockwise rotation and is being jammed into Canada. Bold statement, Cotton. Let's see how that plays out. Utilizing the Pacific Northwest's geodesic array brought to you by Central Washington University, we have fixed GPS locations throughout the entirety of the area that are very subtly measuring the motion of our ground. The arrows that you see here are recording the actual motion of the ground. The longer it is, the more motion you're experiencing. And they're directional too. This is fairly noticeable when you look at Washington and Oregon combined. Now, what happens if I use my non-existent graphic design skills to drop our story on top of that map? With yellow being the Olympic Wallowa lineament, OWL, or the red line being the Klamath Blue Mountain lineament, KBML, it's interesting to note that these lines are almost seemingly going away from KBML and going right at OWL. Whatever could be causing a shoving motion in that direction, I wonder. That force, of course, what I'm talking about is coming from the basin and range, or what we've been talking about the last couple videos. But why isn't the basin and range just like pushing California straight out into the Pacific? And what's it got to do with OWL and KBML? When we talked about the Klamath Mountains, we described rock that was pushing upwards of 400 million years old and is really dense volcanic. We also talked about the similarities it shared with the Sierra Nevadas and how they might be one and the same. So there is some really hard, dense, not easy to move rock that the basin and range is pushing up against. A good way to think about it is kind of like the blade of a bulldozer. What, pray tell, is it bulldozing into? The specific Pacific Plate, which has a very different path than what basin and range is doing. As we discussed in the previous video, the Pacific Plate is moving in a northwestern-ish direction. But not right here. That mechanism goes back to the original expansion of the Pacific Plate, and then a sharp turn, if you will, that happened roughly 50 million years ago. Perhaps the most famous expression of this motion would be the San Andreas Fault, which you could totally drive to see in the San Francisco area. On this side, I'm moving northwards on the Pacific Plate. On this side, I'm moving south on the North American Plate. Wait a minute, North America is going south? I thought you said basin and range was going west. Good catch. With California basically being split into by the San Andreas Fault, and the bulldozer of material coming at us from the Sierra Nevadas and the Klamath Mountains being shoved by the basin and range, this is chaos. Material being pushed this direction and the Pacific Plate being pushed up that direction, it's grabbing it right at the Klamath Mountains. Let's use one of my poor drawings to describe this. Dang, that's ugly. A quick lay of the land. Green, Olympics. Red, Cascades. Pink, the Rockies. Blue, Klamath Blue Mountains. And of course purple, the Sierras. And for the heck of it, let's throw OWL and KBML in there. With the basin and range relaxing after the death of the Farallon Plate, this area here is being shoved westward. At the same time, the Pacific Plate versus the North America Plate off the coast of California is moving in two different directions. And these two forces are meeting at the very poorly placed Klamath Mountains. It's this meeting at this precise location paired with another certain thing that hit us traveling in a certain direction that is just catching this edge and shoving everything up into Canada. That might be hands down one of the worst maps I've ever drawn. It's that glancing blow and that little bit of a grab on the Klamath Mountains that is giving us that clockwise rotation here in the Pacific Northwest. And that brings us to the closing act. After 23 videos, we are finally at the end of our story. We now have the ability to finally answer what is the Olympic Wallowa lineament, and I guess in part what is the Klamath Blue Mountain lineament. We have been through a lot so far, and in the next video, we're going to finish the story.